get the party started. Can everybody hear me? If you can hear my mic check, what should we type in today? How about type in what's up? Type in what's up in the comments. That way I know you guys can hear me. If you can hear me, type in what's up in the comments. And then we'll get started on today's weather school, hot and cold weather safety. All right. Hey, I see a what's up from Carrie Jean and from Kristen Kozłowski. And Brennan's typing in yes. Okay, there we got a whole bunch of what's ups that came in. All right, excellent. All right, hi. Good Monday morning to everybody out there on Facebook who was joining in for weather school. Let's see who's joining us today. Let's see here. Valerie, good morning from Charlotte, Robert, and Emily in Swamico. You guys have gotten a lot of rain there in Swamico. We got Callie and Essie, Megan Christensen. Good morning, guys. Ryan Hartman's there. Brennan Leverton's there. Let's see here. Kayleen, thank you for the nice comment. Happy to have done this for all the kiddos out there. This is our 9th weather school during the pandemic, and it is our last one. I will tell you this is going to be the last weather school that we are doing as the Wisconsin Stay-at-Home initiative has come to an end, although I know that the rest of the school year is obviously stay-at-home as well. Let's see here. We've got Avery in Green Bay. Hello to you as well. And we've got Akara and Olivia in soggy Chesapeake, Virginia. And Grayson and Debbie from Black Creek. Good morning to you guys as well. And let's see here. Zara and Joey Chang in Denmark are watching this morning. We got Ben and Anna and Dave Newman watching us. And let's see here, Betty Van Asten in Darboy, good morning to you as well. Ross Dyer up in the Niagara area, good morning to you as well. And let's see here, Shayna and Carrie and Kristen, hello to all you guys as well. Thanks for joining us. All right, so our weather school today is focused mostly on hot and cold weather safety. It especially revolves on what we would call the feels like temperature. You know, very often when you watch Action 2 News and you watch our weather, we give you the temperature and we give you the feels like temperature. Now, during the cold weather months, we're usually talking about wind chill. During the warmer weather months, we're often talking about heat index because the weather has a certain temperature, but it affects our bodies in a different way depending if we're talking about cold air versus warm air. We'll get into exactly what's going on, the science behind it, and a little bit of some safety information because I thought this was a good weather school to wrap things up. You know, we're going to be heading into summer very soon, and we've got a lot of young children, hopefully in elementary and middle school, who are tuning in and watching this. Especially young people and also senior citizens are usually most prone to heat and cold related illness because of not being fully prepared for what the weather is doing, whether it's too hot or too cold. And so it's a good idea to kind of go through what this is all about and make sure that we all know how to stay safe, especially that we can enjoy the summertime. And of course, when winter rolls around, we can enjoy winter as well. All right, so before we get going here, I wanted to say that heat especially, heat waves kill more Americans than any other weather-related natural disaster. Last week, or was it last week or 2 weeks ago, we were talking about, it was last week, we were talking about flooding. And flooding is the weather disaster that kills more people, more than tornadoes and hurricanes and whatnot. But outside of weather disasters, the type of weather that overall, unfortunately, causes more fatalities in the United States is from heat waves, especially in urban areas where a lot of times, with the concrete and the tightly confined places, some people have a hard time getting to, cooling shelters. And so It can be a very serious situation, especially during the summertime. So let us get started here. Let's start off talking about wind chill. And I need to give this little guy here a nickname. I'm going to give this guy a nickname. I'm going to call him Charlie. So this is Charlie. And Charlie is a bright young man, and he can see that he is hopefully getting dressed for colder weather every winter. He's got himself a scarf, he's got himself a hat, and as he goes out into the cold air, you can see there's that orange glow around his body. That is body heat. We all produce body heat. In fact, most of us internally have a body temperature right around 97.9 degrees. Now, the normal body temperature used to be 98.6 degrees, and then scientists recently figured out that the normal body temperature is actually a little bit lower than that. But truth be told, depending if you're male or female or younger or older, your body temperature can vary. So we all produce body heat, and it tends to kind of create a little bubble around us and keeps us fairly warm. That's why when you go to bed, you got the blankets over top of you, the blankets trap the body heat along you, and you tend to feel nice and warm and snuggly. But what happens is that when we go, whoops, no, that's not what I need to do there. Pardon me here. I'm going to back it up. There's Charlie again. That's the button I wanted to click. So when Charlie goes out and he's bundled up, depending on what the wind is doing, that has an impact on how Charlie really feels. Now, when it's cold but calm outside, that layer of heat generated by our bodies keeps us warm. So normal body heat hangs around us when the air is cold, but the wind is calm. So that really doesn't produce much of a wind chill factor. So you go outside and the temperature is 17 degrees, for example. If the air is calm, it's going to feel like 17 degrees. But when Charlie goes out and he's bundled up and he's producing his body heat, and then there's some wind, especially the stronger winds, that wind is going to push that layer of body heat away from Charlie. So that bubble of warmth tends to float away. So we perceive it to be colder outside. So that wind pushes that layer of heat away from our bodies. That body heat escapes faster as the wind gets stronger. That's what wind chill is. It's our body's perception to how it really feels outside when the wind blows that body heat away from us. And so when wind chill gets down to about minus 20, it gets to be cold enough where it can cause health hazards. So wind chill safety tips. We want to limit our time outside if the wind chills are getting bad enough where we can get either hypothermia or frostbite. Now, hypothermia is when your core body temperature begins to drop. Again, normally we have a body temperature around 97.9 degrees. Of course, that could vary a little bit. When our body temperature drops because of the cold weather outside, and it drops down to about 95 degrees or colder, then we're getting hypothermia. Hypothermia is the dropping of the body's temperature, and when the body's temperature drops to 95 degrees or colder, various organs inside our body, our heart, our lungs, different organs, they probably won't work properly. And usually it is the circulatory system and the respiratory system that are heavily affected by hypothermia. Frostbite is a little bit different. Frostbite is the freezing of your skin. Now, our skin is actually an organ as well. It's called the epidermis. And so when the body is getting colder and the skin on your fingers, on your ears, on, certain parts of your body start to get too cold, those can freeze up. So your skin cells can freeze up. Now, a light little frostbite, sometimes it's called a frost nip, is obviously concerning, but it isn't as serious as full-blown frostbite, where you can have frozen skin, and that can be a permanent health issue. And so we want to make sure that as wind chills get down into deeper and deeper into negative territory, like 20 degrees below zero, 30 degrees below zero, we want to make sure that we are taking proper precaution to stay warm and not get these health hazards. So what we want to do is we want to cover up exposed skin if we're going outside. And probably the most important thing to wear, other than your coat, is a hat. You lose most of your body heat from your head. So wearing a hat is really, really important to try to keep that body heat in. And you can see Charlie's got a scarf to cover up his face, especially his nose and his mouth, where we're exhaling that air. So that tends to be warm, so that tends to keep that body heat from your nose and from your mouth towards your face. Of course, we want to make sure we cover up any exposed skin on our hands. So a lot of people like to wear gloves, and gloves are great and all that stuff. Mittens actually are better to wear than gloves. Mittens tend to wick away moisture better than gloves do, and you tend to also compress your fingers closer together instead of spreading them apart, which helps to keep the body heat in a little bit better as opposed if they were spread apart. So, again, wind chill. Our perception to how cold it actually feels outside, it's the wind that's carrying our body heat away from us. And when that wind chill gets down to about 20 degrees below zero or colder, then we can be developing potential health problems like hypothermia and frostbite. All right, let's see if we've got any questions as well here. Let's see here. I see we have somebody who's doing some inappropriate stuff, and that is going to be deleted. This is just before I go any deeper here, this is a weather classroom for children. This is a classroom for elementary and middle school children who are really not really needing to know about somebody's political views. So if you're interested in going off on your political views, do it somewhere else. Don't punish the children who should be innocent of what's going on and making them listen to whatever you decide you want to talk about. All right, so let's see here. Tiffany Ellingson, can the cold get into a house if the house is without protection? A lot of homes are protected. Of course, inside our house, we may have a furnace or a boiler to kind of keep the temperature of the home up. A lot of homes have some sort of fiberglass insulation. A lot of that insulation is in the walls, it's in the roof, and it helps to keep the heat in the house inside. We want to make sure that we have windows that are not too drafty, old windows that have little cracks and seams around the window where the heat from the house escapes and allows the cold air inside. And so that's something that we want to make sure, as an adult who owns a home, you want to make sure that your windows are good. But there are definitely things that homeowners can do to try to keep a lot of the heat in. Let's see here. From Liam, how long can you stay outside without getting hypothermia? Well, Liam, it really depends on the temperature, and it depends on the wind. In fact, this will be a good segue to go into the next graphic that I've got here. So the graphic that I'm going to show you now is not that one, this one. All right, so this is a chart where meteorologists can figure out how long does it take for you to get frostbite based on the elements that are going on outside. So I know this is kind of a complicated chart, so let me help you guys out. So going from left to right, at the top of the chart here are different temperatures. 40 degrees, 35, 30. See how it's getting colder every step we take? There is a temperature of 0, and then these are air temperatures that are getting below 0, all the way down to 45 degrees below 0. That's going from left to right. So going from top to bottom, these are wind speeds. At the top here is calm, then a 5-mile-per-hour wind, then a 10-mile-per-hour wind. See how the winds are getting stronger, all the way up to a 60-mile-per-hour wind. So let's say we had a temperature outside of 0, and let's say the winds outside were 20 miles an hour. What you would do is you would take your finger and run that across the chart until it meets where your finger moves down the chart. So if you had a temperature of 0 and 20 mile per hour winds, your wind chill would be 22 degrees below 0. See that? So meteorologists use this chart as quick reference to figure out how chilly that wind chill is based on air temperature and wind speed. Now you'll notice that there are different colors here. different shades of blue, even purple. So once we get down to about 18 degrees below zero, see here's 18 below, here's 19 below, 19 below, right around 18, 19 degrees below zero, that's usually the threshold where frostbite can develop on exposed skin in about 30 minutes. In fact, the National Weather Service will issue a wind chill advisory once that wind chill gets down to minus 20. So you could see that that's about when that wind chill becomes a concern, about down to about 18, 20 degrees below zero. Meanwhile, frostbite can occur a lot faster if that wind chill gets down into the 30s below zero or the 40s below zero. Once that wind chill gets down about minus 48, minus 50, right in that ballpark there, you're talking about wind chills that are cold enough where the frostbite can form on exposed skin in as little as 5 minutes. So that can happen really, really fast. So frostbite and hypothermia can set on at different times based on the air temperature and the wind speeds. It really just all depends. Hopefully that helps out a little bit. All right. Now, question from Gracie and Zoe. Can you get frostbite underneath your clothes? It is possible, but a lot less likely. It is a lot more likely for you to get frostbite on exposed skin. You probably would need to have some seriously cold air to get frostbite underneath your clothes. And also depends on what kind of clothes you're wearing. Are you wearing a t-shirt? Are you wearing some thick Gore-Tex coat? Well, see, that makes a difference, right? You're more likely to get frostbite on exposed skin. So that's why I encourage you to cover up your face, the top of your head, your hands. Frostbite is usually most common on fingertips and on your ears and on your nose as well, those little parts of your body that stick out. All right, so now someone just asked from Brittany Brunner, hey, why does it say effective November 1st, 2001? And that's a good question. Very good eye, by the way. This wind chill chart was created November 1st, 2001. Before that date, the National Weather Service used a different formula to create the wind chill number. Now, this is the wind chill formula that we have right now. In fact, why don't we get in a little bit closer? So this is the math problem that meteorologists use to calculate the wind chill. Now, I don't consider myself to be the best mathematician. And there's a good reason why we don't do these math problems on an everyday basis. Because if we had to try to calculate the wind chill by hand, it would take a long time to be able to do this math problem. It's a very complicated math problem. But back on November 1st of 2001, the National Weather Service, based on the latest scientific research, they had updated the wind chill formula. And it was something different before this, and the wind chills were calculated a little bit differently. So if you have a mom or a dad who lived through a storm back in the 80s or the 90s, and they said, oh my goodness, the wind chill back then, it got down to minus 70. Well, you know what? That same storm today probably wouldn't produce the same kind of wind chill back then, because since then, the formula to calculate the wind chill has actually changed. It was, it didn't get any colder or warmer. It's just that meteorologists have found a better way since 2001 to calculate the wind chill more accurately. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, from Ezra, can frostbite hurt trees? That's a great question. When we talk about frostbite, we're talking about how the cold affects the human body, how it affects us specifically. Now, other living creatures, like for example, if you've got a dog, if you send your dog outside and your dog, has to relieve himself in the yard, well, you got to keep an eye on your favorite dog, because after a while your dog needs to come inside. But dogs lose body heat in a different rate than human beings do. different living creatures lose body heat in a different way than human beings do. Now, trees, they don't produce body heat like the way mammals do, like the way we do, like for example, humans do, and like dogs do, and like cats do, and like farm animals do. So wind chill is only for human beings. And even though other animals lose body heat, they lose body heat at a different rate. Perhaps they have fur that's thick that might keep the body heat in. Or if it's a living creature like a tree that doesn't produce body heat, then the wind chill is really something that doesn't impact the tree in the same way. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Good question, by the way. All right, one more question, and I'll move on here. Let's see here. Yes, by the way, animals can get frostbite. That is a question here I see. Brittany Brunner, can you lose a body part that has frostbite? Yes, you can. It would take a lot of frostbite, but some people have lost fingertips and people have lost portions of noses and ears because of extreme frostbite. And so frostbite is something that we should always take very seriously. All right, let's move on. Let's see here. All right, so there goes Charlie. All right, so Charlie is now enjoying summer. All right, summertime. But in the summertime, when we talk about feels like temperatures, we're not talking about wind chills. We're talking about the heat index. So heat index is a little bit different. When we talk about wind chill, we're talking about cold and wind and how the wind blows our body heat away from us. When we talk about heat index, we're talking about heat, but not the wind. We're talking about heat and humidity. Here's why. So if it's a hot day and the humidity is low, so we have drier air outside, like for example, some people who live in Arizona or New Mexico, they'll say, oh yeah, it's hot in the summer, but it's dry heat. It's hot. But when it's hot and the humidity is low, drier air allows moisture to evaporate from your body. You see, we all sweat. We all perspire, right? And, sometimes we stink because of sweating, right? Got to put on some deodorant. But sweating, perspiring, helps us cool our bodies when it gets hot outside. Because when that water, that sweat, evaporates from our skin, evaporation is a cooling process. So when the sweat, the perspiration, evaporates off of your skin, off of your forehead, that helps to cool your body down. With dry air around us, that dry air allows that sweat, that perspiration to evaporate easily off of your body, which helps to cool you down. It's still hot, but at least that evaporation off of your body helps a little bit when the humidity is low. And we really don't deal with much of a heat index when it's hot and dry. Now, when it's hot and humid, when we have high humidity, well, that's a different story. Because the air around us is humid, it's muggy, and that moist air limits the evaporation. So in other words, the sweat that you're producing doesn't evaporate off your body and cool you down. If anything, it sticks to you. And it sticks to your forehead, and it sticks to your hands, and it sticks to your clothes, and the shirt is sticking to my body, yuck. And that moist air limiting evaporation makes us feel even more uncomfortable. Sweat evaporation slows down with high humidity. And so with the heat and the humidity, that feel-like temperature is known as the heat index. You don't see heat index thrown around very much in Arizona and in New Mexico because they have a very dry climate, but in areas east of the Rocky Mountains, especially towards the Gulf Coast and the southeast United States, heat index is something that is mentioned quite a bit, and we mention heat index quite a bit in Wisconsin once it gets to be summertime because some of that moisture from the Gulf of Mexico makes its way north to Wisconsin, so we deal with the heat and that Gulf of Mexico moisture, which makes things feel a bit sticky outside. All right, so when the heat index gets really hot, when we're talking about 100 degrees or higher, we need to talk about heat exhaustion safety. So the heat can really wear us out and cause some health effects that it can be dangerous. So we never want to leave pets and kids inside a parked vehicle. Inside a car, during the summertime, even with the windows cracked, it can get really hot inside a car, get to 120, 130, 140 degrees. That's dangerous heat for any living creature. And much in the same way that children and senior citizens are extra susceptible to cold weather danger, children and senior citizens are just as extra susceptible to heat danger as well. We want to make sure that we drink lots of water and stay hydrated. Water is the best fluid to drink to stay hydrated. I know a lot of folks like to drink their sodas and their coffees and other things like that. Well, yeah, you're getting some fluid in your body, but water is probably the most effective thing to hydrate your body. Reduce strenuous activities. So sometimes we like to play sports, we like to go to the park and run around. We want to make sure we don't overdo it because that can give us heat exhaustion if we're not too careful when it's really, really hot. Finding shade or staying in air condition, that's AC, to help cool our body down. And wearing lightweight, light-colored clothing. Light colors, like my shirt, reflect light, reflect sunlight and energy. Like right now I've got a light reflecting off my shirt and it looks bright and shiny to you. If I was wearing a black shirt or a dark color, then the sun's light would be absorbed by my shirt. So I would actually be getting hotter faster if I was wearing some dark colored clothing as opposed to light colored clothing. All right, let's see here. Let's see here. Who's got some questions? Brittany Brunner, can heat give you hypothermia? No, heat does not give you hypothermia. Hypothermia is when your body temperature drops. And actually, this is what's happening here is the body temperature is going in the other direction. So really, heat exhaustion and heat stroke, in fact, we're going to go through those dangers in just a minute. Heat exhaustion and heat stroke are really the opposite of hypothermia. I'm not a doctor, but I kind of wonder if you were to call it hypothermia, that probably would be right. I would think that would be right. I'm not a doctor, so don't quote me on this, but I would think that hypothermia would be correct, while hypothermia is the dropping of the body temperature. Hypo would be the raising. That would be something that you might want to Google, because I'm a meteorologist, not a doctor. All right. Let's see here. What other questions do we have here? Any other questions? Let's see here. What is the hottest temperature recorded? You know what? I don't have that in front of me right now. I could Google it real quick. It was either I think it was either in Libya or in Death Valley. I'll have to Google it really quick. What is the hottest temperature ever recorded? 134 degrees, and that is in Furnace Creek, California. So yes, that's in Death Valley. And I believe the previous record was somewhere in Libya. So there we go, 134.1 degrees. All right. And let's see here. Any other questions? What dehydrates you faster, extreme cold or high humidity? It's the heat and the humidity that's going to dehydrate you even faster than extreme cold. So definitely the heat and humidity is going to dehydrate you faster. And don't get me wrong, if it's hot and dry, you still want to drink plenty of water. Because don't forget, whether it's low humidity or high humidity, you're still sweating, you're still perspiring, and you need to replenish that moisture and drink water to keep hydrated. So you still want to drink water if it's very humid or if it's not so humid. If it's hot, you still want to drink plenty of water to keep hydrated. All right, so heat exhaustion and heat stroke are the biggest dangers when it comes to summertime and health. So, you know, the thing is that while heat exhaustion and heat stroke are similar, they may have different signs. So for example, if you come across somebody during a heat wave that has heat exhaustion, they may be faint or they may be dizzy. They may have excessive sweating, like not just a little bit of sweating, but really pouring sweat. their skin may be cool, pale, and kind of clammy. And their pulse, their heart rate could either be really fast or really slow. And you can get muscle cramps, and that can occur in different areas of the body. So if somebody is going through heat exhaustion, you want to make sure that that person gets to a cool, air-conditioned place. They need to drink lots of water. Hopefully they're still conscious. If they're not, then that's probably a good time to call 911. But if they're still conscious, you want to make sure you help them out to get cool air, some water, and if they're home, they can take a cool shower or use cold compress to try to bring that body temperature down. We want that body temperature to be closer to normal, closer to 97 or 98 degrees. When that body temperature tends to get way high, it's getting up around 100 degrees or so, then we're dealing with a problem there, okay? So heat stroke is a little bit different. Heat stroke is probably more of an advanced concern as far as heat is concerned. If you come across somebody who's got heat stroke, they have a throbbing headache, they kind of lost the ability to sweat, they may basically be dehydrated enough where they're not really able to efficiently sweat or perspire to help cool them down. Their skin is probably red and hot and dry. They might look like they've got some sort of sunburn. Now, just because somebody has a sunburn doesn't mean they've got heat stroke, but that may be the appearance of what's going on in their skin. Their pulse, their heart rate is probably rapid. It's probably racing and very strong. And if someone has heat stroke, they might lose their consciousness. They possibly could faint. So if you come across somebody who has heat stroke, it's important to call 911 immediately, because the steps that you would take for heat exhaustion, get them to a cool place, let them have some water, take a cool shower, that probably isn't going to be enough to help this person. So calling 911 and getting a health expert, like a paramedic there, is probably the best thing that you can do in those kind of situations. All right, let me see. Do we have any other questions here? Is it possible for animals, this is from Christy, is it possible for animals to get dehydrated? Oh yes, absolutely. Whether we're talking about human beings living in North America or any other place in this world, or your favorite dog who needs to go to his water bowl and drink some water, or maybe we're talking about an African lion out in the savannah who's up on the water hole trying to get a drink. All living creatures really need to have some water. I mean, that's what makes the earth an amazing place. And so, yes, all creatures can get dehydrated, and especially in hot conditions. So, good question. Let's see here. All right. I don't see any other questions here. Now, I want to check here real quick. I've got it. Okay. So I don't have a graphic that shows the formula for heat index, but I do have a piece of paper that does. And let's see here. I'm going to hold it up. Hopefully you can see it. Oh, boy, look at that. It's a little hard to see with that light shining there. All right. So this formula, it's hard to see, isn't it? This is the formula. Here, let me try to turn the light down here a little quick. That's a little better, isn't it? So right in here is the formula for how to calculate the heat index. It's a little blurry, I know. The camera can't quite focus on it. But like the formula for Windchill, it is also very complicated. It's something that meteorologists really aren't going to just sit there and hand do, try to calculate the heat index. So like the Windchill, meteorologists have a chart with different temperatures and either the dew point or the relative humidity, depending on the chart, where we can kind of line up the numbers and figure out what that heat index, that feel-like temperature is. So if you are interested in finding that out, you can Google that and get a chance to see what that looks like as well. All right. Any other questions? Let's see here. I don't see any other questions here. All right. Yeah, I see you guys are chatting about hypothermia and hypothermia. All right, good. Okay. All right, so that is what I've got for you guys today. That is our chat about hot and cold weather dangers. And again, we're going to be heading into summertime, so it's very important that we listen to our bodies. And when we are feeling like we're thirsty, chances are you're already becoming dehydrated. This is during the summertime, and you're like, say you're out running around playing, you're doing some sports, or whatever, maybe you're jogging or whatever you like to do. And if you are outside in the heat and you are already feeling thirsty, the chances are you're already on your way to being dehydrated. So you want to make sure you drink plenty of water and try to keep cool and don't overdo it. And remember that it doesn't take very long for these symptoms to show up, whether it be summertime in the heat or wintertime in the cold, for these symptoms to show up, and all of a sudden we're dealing with some health problems. So always play it safe when it comes to that. All right, well, I do have some homework for the parents. Now, this is, kids, let me just say this up front. This is homework that I really don't expect your parents to do, okay? But I think it might be fun to see mom and dad's reaction to their homework, especially if they haven't watched this with you. All right, so if you're a kiddo and your mom and dad put this on and they're off in the other room doing something else, maybe they're working because they may have to work, and you're watching this. So this is what we're going to do. So let me go back to the Windchill chart. Remember the Windchill chart? Remember that? Do you remember the formula? So what we're going to do is this. As homework, we are going to ask mom and dad to figure out what the wind chill is with a temperature of 0 and a wind speed of 20 miles an hour. Okay? So we're going to ask mom and dad, we're going to say, Steve Beylon gave you homework, and you have to figure out what would the wind chill be if the temperature is 0 and the wind speed is 20 miles an hour. So temperature of 0, wind speed of 20 miles an hour, and then you can tell them you have to Google the wind chill formula. So give them the temperature 0 and give them the wind speed 20 miles an hour, and tell them in order to solve the problem, they have to Google the wind chill formula, which is right here. Now they'll Google it and they'll find this, and they'll probably say something like, "You gotta be kidding me." They'll be like, "What?" We just want to see mom and dad's reaction. We just want to see them go, "What?" we just want to see their reaction. We don't actually expect mom and dad to solve it. That's probably not going to happen. But we want a good laugh, and just to see how mom and dad respond to that terrible math equation that even I don't want to solve. Meteorologists don't in general want to solve, but that's how you calculate it. All right, so that is homework. Homework is to make mom or dad freak out for just a minute, and then we all get a good laugh, okay? All right, so hey, that is all that I've got for you guys today. And that is actually all that I've got for you guys for weather school. It's been a good 9 weeks in that regard. I've had a chance to, do these weather sessions with you guys. I do appreciate you guys joining me live or later on, jumping on my Facebook page or checking out the different weather schools that are on our YouTube channel now. If you want to see those, you can go on to WBAY and then type in weather school, and there's a playlist. Once this one gets on here, there should be 9 altogether. And I think out of the 9 episodes, I think I've done about 7 hours of talking, of 7 hours of weather chatting with the kiddos out there about different weather topics. You can either, again, find them on that YouTube channel through WBAY Weather School, or you can always find them on my Facebook page. They'll be in the video section, and look under Weather School, and they'll always be there for you guys in case you ever want them again in the future. But I really appreciate you guys, dropping by, and many of you guys doing it just, very loyally every Monday. I know this has been a hard time, with the pandemic and people staying at home, but I really am just amazed and overwhelmed on the response from all of you guys, as far as your excitement, your eagerness to learn more about our atmosphere, and to learn more about the weather. And it really warms my heart to think that a lot of you kids, have a new appreciation and excitement and passion for meteorology, or any science, really, for that matter. And if this helps to, springboard an interest in science that goes far beyond weather school on Facebook, and it becomes something that you really get excited about as you go through middle school and high school, and maybe go off to college to study meteorology or some sort of science. I think that would be so wonderful. But anyway, for those who've been coming by week after week after week, I wanted to say thank you. And for all the moms and dads out there who have, helped set this up for kids at home, I wanted to say thank you to you guys as well for your dedication to your children's education. Obviously, you value it as much as I do. And kudos to you and being such a wonderful, diligent parent. And also for the teachers out there who I know who have a very challenging job trying to educate kids. Obviously, trying to do that on the computer, either through Zoom or through Google Classroom. It's a challenging time for you guys as well. I know a lot of teachers have told me that they use these weather schools as lesson material. I'm really happy to supply that for you and help you guys out. I often, when I do school talks in person and people, teachers say thank you, I like to say that, what I do is very much like a marathon. It's very much like a sprint versus a marathon. I do weather school, and I'm on this for like 30, 40, 50 minutes. We talk about the weather. It's a sprint, and it's done. But teachers have a much more difficult job. They are running a marathon because they have to do lessons every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from September through early June. And that is a lot more of a difficult job than what I'm doing. And so I really admire what our teachers do, both in the classroom and online during this pandemic. And I'm really just amazed at all that you guys do. So thank you very much. So I will wrap things up. And again, thank you for joining Weather School this week and for the past 9 weeks. And feel free to pick up a couple weather books during summertime, and don't let that possible budding love for weather, for our atmosphere, don't let it die. Just keep going. Make sure you're reading, and make sure that you're looking up stuff online. You can Google stuff and YouTube weather stuff. There's all sorts of great stuff out there. So keep that going, even beyond what I'm telling you on Facebook Live. All right? Thank you very much. From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you guys. Have a great summer. Take care. Bye-bye.